Hi everybody, welcome back. A couple of housekeeping things. First, remember at the beginning of the last lecture I said I don't think they can read this. This is backwards. Well, I looked at the video and I thought, of course they can read it. It looks fine. So don't ask me what I was thinking. I don't know what I had in mind when I said no, it comes across backwards. It doesn't. But that being said, I'm not going to try to depend on those to use too much. I mean, I'm going to make reference to it for the rest of the lecture today to help us get through it quickly. I will be referring to those just to get to the points. We're going to go through like I said, what I'd like the class to do is read between now and next Wednesday, pages 2 through 19. And then the quiz, again, will unlock next Thursday, and then you have a week to do it, and then we'll continue that routine, so on and so forth. So, yeah, that's about it. Oh, a couple other things. By now, you should all be familiar with the text, right? If not, you will be in Instructor Gallagher's. You'll be in Chateau Bow Wow, which is French for the doghouse. You don't want to be in the doghouse. So the sidebar, which is this area along this part of the page, goes into definitions that are very closely aligned with quiz questions. In other words, when they ask you what is a good or what is a service, it gives you a very concise definition of it, which matches those quiz questions pretty closely. So it'll help you get through the quizzes a little faster too. Now, deeper descriptions come in the text, but may be the case, well, some things you kind of understand, you want to make sure you answer the question right so you can move on and do the rest of the quiz. So I would start looking at the sidebar. I mean, that's where the definitions lie. That's where the definitions sit. So it's sort of a helpful tip and trick to help accelerate getting the quizzes done faster. The other thing, election day is a class day. Priority number one is vote. Get out and vote this year. Especially this is, once every 4 years we have the big election, so don't waste the opportunity. Of course, the taped part you can watch anytime, right? The interactive part, yeah, I would rather that you go out and vote than be on the interactive part. But if you can be on the interactive part, that's good too. So if you can arrange your schedule to do both, wonderful. But have your priorities in line. What else? Oh, yeah, and this is the other thing too. I mean, I teach two sections of this course. I teach the 1 o'clock section, I teach the 6 o'clock section. Both are filled, okay? So, first of all, thank you for that. I'm delighted. I like more the merrier, I guess, to a point. So, if you want to get involved in the interactive stuff, but you miss your original lecture, one-off type of thing, it's okay to go to the other, but I really can't afford to have, say, 8 people go from one to the other because it just gets too crowded in one and lacking in the other. So it is important that everybody stick to their basic registration because there isn't room in the other section technically. Now, WebEx will allow for other people to join, but again, it's kind of cheating those who are in a section when there's more people there and they maybe don't have a chance to participate because of the time limitations. And last but not least, your instructor needs a haircut. That's the other thing. I always watch the videos after I tape them. I say, what can I do better? What needs to change? And I said, man, I need a haircut. So there's that. Okay, so we're going to go through page 9 for the rest of this lecture section. One of the things they talk about clearly if you get into business is the way we left it off was the story about entrepreneurship, right? What benefits it brings, and clearly For Apple, it really saved their bacon. I mean, you know, the company was losing money, and they ended up with that iPod slash iTunes, and that just changed their fortunes. I mean, really, then and now. So enormous, you know, risk can lead to tremendous reward. Risk can also lead to tremendous loss. So it cuts both ways. So you always hear about the success stories. Don't get starry-eyed about the success stories. You know, when I lived in LA, people would come and run business proposals by me, and none of them took off. Okay, I mean, this was just their vision. And, you know, because they look and they see other people be successful doing not similar things, but sort of in the same category. And, you know, and it just wasn't thought through, and any number of reasons, actually hundreds of reasons, potentially. And so, you know, when somebody approaches you about joining a company or contributing, you know, investing in a business, you know, think it through a little bit. I mean, it's really, ideally, you want it to be your business and you want it to be your idea. Okay, that's the best way to, yeah, because you're truly emotionally attached to it and involved in it. So, okay, so definitions. I'll ask the question that's on the slide. Okay, blank. By the way, and the slide presentations are going to be attached on the announcements every week, so you'll have all these slides that you can always, you know, follow along with as we're going through a lecture, if you so desire. Blank refers to the total amount of money a business takes in during a given period. A, profit. B, loss. C, revenue. D, risk. So I mentioned about you can always throw one of them or two of them out. In this case, the risk is the one you can throw out because risk has no correlation to money. Basically, risk has correlation to success or failure, okay, and ultimate profitability. But as far as money coming in, profit is what's left over. Okay, the answer is revenue. Okay, so revenue is what's in between your credit card swipes, between your Apple Pay transactions, between your cash transactions. That's the money that your business is taking in that day. Then you subtract your costs from that, and then what's left is either profit or loss. Okay, so revenue refers to the total amount of money a business takes in during a given period. So, and that says that the next page leads with that. And actually, it says the same thing for profit and loss. Profit is basically money a business earns above and beyond its expenses. After you've paid for your employees, insurance, utilities, etc. If you have money left over, you've got a profit for the day. If not, you've got a loss. And loss is defined the same way. Matching risk with profit. This is like a key topic, okay? Because as I said about 2.5 minutes ago, risk does not always equate to reward. I mean, people who take risks become massive failures, go bankrupt, go broke, and then they drag down the other investors with them. So, I mean, whatever you're doing, think it through and have a plan. And that goes for a lot of things. I mean, when you talk about any business proposal in a job, you want to have a plan sketched out. When you interview, you want to have I've gone into interviews and I've gotten job offers, and the person offering a job said, "You're the only person who came in here with a plan." And the plan being, okay, look, this is a framework. This is a living, breathing document that the more I get to know about your company, the more changes will be incorporated. But the fact of the matter is, knowing what I know from everything I've read in the industry magazines and your website and reviews and customer feedback, here's what I know. And based on what I know, here's my business plan for the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And I, again, put the disclaimer on it that This is a living, breathing document. It's going to change as I get more information. It's going to change as circumstances change. But it's a framework. It's something to work off of. So, and again, last job I got, the person hiring me said, "You're the only person who came in here with a plan." You know, everybody else was kind of winging it by the seat of their pants. So sometimes it helps. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes there's better alignment, or someone better articulates the way they can help the company. There's all kinds of variables that fall into it. So the book definition of risk: the chance an entrepreneur takes of losing time and money on a business that may not prove profitable. That's the point. Not all enterprises make the same amount of profit. Not every risk-taking invention, such as an iPod, I keep calling it iPad. I'm working off an iPod. And I'm working off an iPad. The iPod was the successful device that was the home run for Apple. Okay, so but they don't all generate the same amount of profit. Businesses take risks, but with big risks could theoretically come big profits. And that brings me to example number 2. And this is important, so I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to run a couple minutes over, but we'll leave it after this story. I talked about the janitor who became an executive vice president. So this janitor is doing his janitorial duties, and this is in Southern California. This is a local story, so a lot of people in LA know this story, and some know it firsthand. So the janitor is working and gets a call that the assembly line broke in this certain section of the plant. And he goes over there, and it was a food products company. And the flavorings didn't dispense onto the product, okay? So basically what came out were these unflavored, crisps. And so basically the janitor got a plastic bag and scooped up, and they're still on the conveyor belt. They weren't on the ground. Dude didn't sweep them up into with the dirt and whatever else. But they're clean right off the conveyor belt, and he put them in a big bag and tossed them in the trunk of his car and took them home to his mom. And his issue with their crunchy products was that they just didn't have much flavor to them. And again, the fellow's name is Richard Montanez. And his mom really took some family recipe spices and spiced them up a bit, which is what everybody said. Your products are so bland, that's why we don't buy your products. And then they took that, which was better, and then they took it to a local Mexican restaurant. And the owner of the restaurant tried them, and they said, "Yeah, I'm pretty good, but I got some things in the kitchen I think might help this quite a bit." And a little chili powder, a few other things, and lo and behold, people in the restaurant and people at home and friends of his just fell in love with him and said, "You got to get more of these. You've got to, really want these. These are delicious. Why doesn't your company make these?" And so he had a successful. It was the beginnings of a successful product. In other words, he had acceptance by people with it. Now the trick is, again, he's a janitor. Right? But he also there's a plus to that too, which is, if you're the janitor and you call the CEO's office, what are they going to do? Fire you? You just go off and get another job somewhere else, right? It's not a real, risk-taking thing to do that. It takes some backbone to do it, but your career path risk is not there per se. So he calls the company, calls the CEO's office, and of course you always get the administrative assistant. Sometimes you get 2 or 3 layers of the administrative assistant. Now in his case, it was like the first call, "Well, I'm an employee, I'd like to talk to the CEO, Roger Enrico." And Enrico by chance happened to be somebody whose biggest bone to pick with the company snack foods was that they weren't spicy enough. So, and the admin knew that. And so Montanez calls for the CEO, and the admin answers, and the guy says, look, I'm just like really just a factory worker here at your plant. But this happened, and everybody wanted these products to be spicier, and took them to the restaurant, took them to my mom. We formulated the flavors, so I'd like to talk to Mr. Enrico about this. The company was PepsiCo. Yes, Pepsi-Cola and Frito-Lay, okay? So Enrico's listening to the story, and, Montanez is saying this was a huge hit in the neighborhood. I mean, everybody loved him and wants to know where they can get them, but we don't make them yet. And Enrico, and again, he had sort of a soulmate. He didn't know it, but Enrico really wanted spicier products. And when he was a factory manager, he used to tug on elbows and say, why don't you put more spices in this stuff? So Enrico says, I want you, nobody else, I want you to give me a presentation on this in 2 weeks, and be sure to bring samples of this, okay? And I'm going to tell your plant manager, woe be to anybody that gets in your way, okay? I know this is your project, and I respect the fact that you picked up the phone and call, and don't know the verbatim details of the rest of the conversation, but bottom line is Enrico says, this is your baby, you have 2 weeks, get it ready, I want a demo. And see, Montanez, this goes back to the street smarts, because if Montanez brought those into the plant and gave them to his boss or his boss's boss, somebody would swipe the idea. I mean, you got these corporate social climbers, and at some point somebody would say, oh yeah, he mentioned that, but I really helped flush this idea out, and really I carried the ball. They'll make up some BS to steal the glory from where it rightly belonged, which was with Richard Montanez. Long story short, Martinez goes in the meeting with the chips, the flavored chips, and he's wearing a $3 tie. And he's meeting with all these six-figure executives, or in the case of Enrico, seven-figure earning executives, and they loved what they were eating, and they said, yes, we have to make these. These are he's right. These are delicious, and it's going to sell. The product managers that were there were like, yeah, this is a flavoring combination that is going to be a big hit for us. So you may be saying, okay, what is this? Stop teasing, Bill. What's the product? When you go to Front Range Cafeteria, okay, upstairs on the top floor, and you enter the cafeteria section, the very first thing you see in the snack food rack is Flaming Hot Cheetos. And he invented that, okay? And that became a multi-billion-dollar product for PepsiCo. It actually became the best-selling snack food. Janitor did this. So within 3 years, he's an executive vice president of PepsiCo, and he's, he actually nowadays he effectively, tells the story of it, and of course speaks lovingly of PepsiCo for having his back, and speaks lovingly of the product. But that's what street smarts, knowing enough not to let someone else run with your idea, run with it yourself. And also the idea of do it different, and move it forward and have the initiative to do it. And it paid off in spades for him. So I think that's enough really for this day and this week. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll close out Chapter 1 on Tuesday, and then we'll start on Chapter 2 on Tuesday. It's all coming back to me now. We'll close out Chapter 1 next Tuesday, and then we'll start on Chapter 2 next Thursday. Thanks. Have a great weekend.